Bitcoin to 1 million by the end of 2026. In this video, I'm going to break down where Bitcoin is right now and where it might be going by taking a look at some key economic and macro variables. So you want to go ahead and stick around for the rest of that. So let's break down the key macro variables we need to take a look at to understand where Bitcoin is going and whether it can hit $1 million by the end of 2026. First, money supply, which is a driver of inflation, is down 0.29% on a year-over-year basis. On the other hand, core inflation is up 3.8% on a year-over-year basis. And this number, although it's higher than desired, which puts some upward pressure on Fed funds rates and monetary policy, it is counteracted with a weaker economy and a negative money supply growth. As you can see on the graph here, there's that direct relationship between money supply and inflation, and that is good in the short term for keeping inflationary pressure down. Although I'll talk about in a moment why that is absolutely not the case in the long term. Now, continued unemployment claims, which measures rising unemployment level, is up 32% from the economic cycle floor, which occurred in June of 2022, so almost 2 years ago now. This number is very high, and at these levels, historically, looking back at data all the way back into the 60s, a recession has occurred like clockwork within 1 year due to a weak economy that is prone to any kind of shocks. Now, there are a lot of potential shocks out there, not just economic, but also geopolitical in origin as well. Next, we move ahead to the market discount cycle, which also impacts the crypto cycle as well. Currently, we are in year 2 of the market discount cycle. So every 3 to 4 years, the stock market performs poorly due to an alignment of monetary and fiscal policy with the political cycle to address economic issues. Even though a recession is possible, just like I mentioned, the discount cycle dictates that it's unlikely that restrictive monetary and fiscal policy will be allowed, which would negatively impact both the stock market and the crypto markets. Again, we are in year 2 of the cycle. So before I dive into how this will affect Bitcoin, let's look at the big picture. So the stock market and also even the crypto cycle, which mirrors the ebbs and flows of liquidity, is in a good year because we are in year 2 of the market discount cycle. Now, it's important to understand that because in the big picture, if you understand the market discount cycle and you were to follow the strategy laid out on the previous table, which involves categorizing and investing around the predicted direction of the stock market, which mirrors the crypto market as well, you would be $1 million better off in this 15-year example growth of $100,000 since the year of 2008. Next, to understand why there is such bullish sentiment about crypto, especially Bitcoin, we need to move ahead to major cycles. Now, what this means is that major world-changing domestic and international conflicts follow a cycle that begins approximately every 84 and 248 years. The theory around that is that astrological alignments cause predictable patterns of human behavior in the same way that tides are impacted by the moon on Earth. So right now we are at year 83 and 248 on the major cycle, which means we are about to enter into a major conflict time period. Now, it's also important to know about major cycles because they can bring about wildcard events that can impact both the stock market and also cause some unprecedented changes that we could see in a positive way for Bitcoin and gold and some other asset classes as well. Now, let's take a look at market valuation because this will be important to understand why there's a big launch pad for Bitcoin coming up. So currently, the stock market in aggregate is overvalued, which means that it's poised for a bigger than normal drop during the market discount cycle, which is coming up shortly. Before we dive into the final predictions, let's take a look at the monetary policy that is currently happening. And monetary policy is currently favorable to the stock market and the crypto market, as interest rates should remain about the same or decrease should any shocks occur to the system. And then finally, rounding this out, one more piece of macro variable that we need to take a look at before we dive in. Fiscal policy is also favorable as we continue to have strong government spending, which brings liquidity into the market and would increase should any type of shock occur, especially in a political cycle that we're in right now. Now, before I give my prediction on Bitcoin, if you want to get stock rankings, macro analysis, and much more so you can pinpoint the best opportunities, go ahead and click the link down below. Now, here's the deal with Bitcoin. When we take a look at the macro landscape right now, conditions are favorable for continued growth. So in the short term, things are a plus, and Bitcoin should continue to outperform the S&P 500 as well and be very, very competitive with some growth names. What I love about Bitcoin going forward, though, is when you take a look at both the market discount cycle, which is typically very negative for Bitcoin, and then also the key macro cycles that are coming in, the 84 and 248 year cycle, and what that entails to the financial system in general, then there's a very bullish case for Bitcoin rocketing up in the near future, especially with those macroeconomic headwinds. So $1 million for Bitcoin is very plausible, especially if you think about the market cap for that essentially being a little bit bigger than maybe like one or two big tech names inflation adjusted. So very bullish on Bitcoin into the future. Now that's all for this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any daily videos or stock rankings. And I'll see you guys on the next video.